Welcome to CKLA Knowledge 3, Lesson 9, Tselane. Our purpose for listening today is to identify elements of a folk tale. We want to identify the similarities and differences in 3 of our folk tales. Also listen carefully to understand the word fright. Can you say fright? Folk tales are stories that someone made up long ago that are told again and again. We have a couple folk tales to remember. Little Red Riding Hood and Hugo Poe had similarities and differences. Take just a minute and whisper to a friend one thing you remember about those two folk tales. Remember, use a nice, kind, sweet voice and whisper. Start off by saying, I remember, and see what happens next. Go share with a friend. Come on back. Good job, first graders. Let's figure out where our story comes from today. The folktale we're going to hear originates in a country called Botswana many, many years ago. Botswana is on the continent of Africa. Listen carefully to this story from Botswana to hear the similarities between this new story and Little Red Riding Hood and Hugo Poe. Once upon a time, in a southern region of Africa, where the Bantu language is spoken, there lived a girl named Tselane. She lived with her mother and father. The family lived in a little round house with a thatched roof. One day, Teslane's mother said, I must go to the village for some things we need. You may stay here, but be sure to keep the door locked. Watch out for the hungry leopards who roam the land. Teslane's mother set out for the village. Tselane stayed at home by herself. Tselane had stayed home by herself before. Each time her mother would return and call out in her sweet, high voice that sounded like the song of an ataga bird. Tselane, my child, her mother would call from outside. I have brought you some food. Open the door. That's my mother's voice, Tselane would say. Her voice is high and sweet, like the song of the ataga bird. Each time Tselane would open the door and see her mother standing there. Her mother would always bring her some bread and porridge. Tselane would then sit down and eat with her mother. One day, when Teslane's mother had gone to the village, Tselane heard a knock at the door. Tselane, my child, it's your mother. I have brought you some food. Open the door. That is not my mother's voice, said Tselane. My mother's voice is high and sweet, like the song of the ataga bird. Go away, you wicked leopard. The leopard went away, but he came back soon after and tried to make his voice sound like a woman's voice. Tselane, my child, said the leopard, it's your mother. I have brought you some food. Open the door. That is not my mother's voice, said Tselane. My mother's voice is high and sweet, like the song of the ataga bird. Go away, you wicked leopard. The leopard went away. He came back, but this time he drank a special drink that made his voice higher to sound like Teslane's mother. Tselane, my child, said the leopard in a high, womanly voice. It's your mother. I have brought you some food. Open the door. That's my mother's voice, said Tselane, high and sweet, like the song of the ataga bird. Tselane opened the door and saw the leopard. With a fright, she tried to slam the door shut again, but it was too late. The leopard stuffed Tselane into a sack and carried her away, intending to take her back to his habitat on the savannah. After carrying the heavy bag for a while, the leopard stopped by a small stream. After traveling so far in the heat and carrying the heavy bag, he needed a cool drink. Rather than carrying the heavy bag down to the stream, the leopard left the bag on the side of the road, as he intended to be away from it for only a short moment. The leopard climbed down the hill to the stream to get a drink of water. As soon as he was gone, a little girl came walking down the road. Seeing the bag along the side of the road, the little girl became curious, so she peeped into the bag. She saw some fingers sticking up and quickly closed the bag. "Whose fingers are those?" she asked. "Mine," said a voice. "My name is Tselane. Please let me out. I am smothered here in this small, hot space." "Tselane?" said the girl. "Why, your mother is my aunt. She has been visiting here in the village." The little girl let Tselane out of the bag. Then she and Tselane ran to get Teslane's mother. When she heard what had happened, Teslane's mother filled the leopard's bag with scorpions and snakes. When he had finished getting his cool drink, the leopard came back to the road and grabbed the sack. Then he set off for his home. When the leopard arrived back at the savannah, he opened the bag, intending to start eating his tasty feast. Instead, angry snakes slithered out. Dozens of scorpions poured out of the bag, shaking their poisonous tails. The leopard put his great speed to work and darted or ran quickly across the savannah, never to bother Tselane or her family again. As for Tselane, she decided to always accompany her mother to the village and follow her instructions, and they all lived happily ever after. Our story today had characters. How were the characters similar or different from our last two folk tales? Where did our story take place? What is the setting? And the plot. What happened in the beginning, the middle, and the end? And what was our conflict? The oh no problem. This is our very last story for this knowledge domain. I hope you had fun listening to them all.